Hey everyone, this is Harry with Gray Area. Today I will be speaking with Monsieur Frazier, an LA-based DJ who has played at huge events like Coachella, Splash House, and Day Trip here at Academy in Hollywood. He is also a talent buyer, event curator, and A&R through his underground collective, Understated. Listen on to hear all about his encyclopedic knowledge of music and how he applies that to his sets and his debut EP, self-titled Monsieur Frazier, out now on his own label, Understated Recordings. Be sure to like this video and subscribe for more interviews like this. When you first sparked that interest, is that something that you felt like instantly, or is that something that you kind of realized over time that it would be such an important part of your life?
It was pretty instant. I remember like the school assembly where they make you, the LA school assemblies where they like have the instruments come out and they like ask when you want to play. So it was that, and I just remember just feeling it right away, just being like, oh shit, like this is super cool, like I want to do this, like it's just that instant, like you just feel it, and I remember picking the trumpet because I thought it was the easiest one though, because that's also me too. I'm also super lazy. But it's funny enough too, the saxophone is actually easier than the trumpet, even though it looks way more complicated. And I liked how the sax sounded more too, but I just like the trumpet. Was like, this is easier, but yeah. So right away I knew. Right away. Must have been like second or third grade, even earlier than that. So yeah.
I'm glad you brought up just like LA in general, because you're born and raised here, so which is not something that everybody who lives here says, let alone everybody who lives here who works in music. So
sorry. That was,
what's it called? So what role has like LA played in like fostering your musical identity?
Oh man. I mean, it is it like I remember, I mean, one of the first like memories of like music and just like life in general is like I was being like 2 or 3 years old and like remembering Nothing But a G Thing, so yeah, like just from the very start, like it's like embedded in me, I think it plays into the sounds that, like, I think the sounds that I gravitate towards now have a lot to do with like the sound of like West Coast hip hop and like West Coast music in general. Like I remember very often hearing everybody loves the sunshine as a kid. Roy Ayers was from LA. Patrice Rushen is another, jazz artist, black R&B jazz artist from LA. So hearing songs like Forget Me Nots, and you remind me like have that such a distinct LA sound to them, like even like the opening scene in Straight Outta Compton, or that opening Dr. Dre scene in Straight Outta Compton, where he's literally listening to Everybody Loves the Sunshine on his headphones. I think, that has such a LA sound to it, that song, so even like seeing Dre listen to that song really resonated, and the movie really resonated with me, because I was like, I know exactly like what he's feeling right now. Like he feels that song in a way that like this is so distinctly like I grew up in LA, just like the chords of it and like the color, that song sounds like how LA looks, so I think all of that's embedded. And then I mean, obviously, like there's such a strong component of like funk music to LA, like especially with G-funk. So just like those funk chords, I mean, that those chords just are, like, that is my music, like the rhythm grooves, like that West Coast G-funk, that West Coast bounce. Like I hear it, I'm instantly taken to a place of like, man, I'm in high school again, or man, I'm in middle school again, or man, I'm riding in my mom's car, like Corrupt comes on, I'm just like, it's like, what would you do with me or my crew? Like you hear that song and you instantly just fill up with like, that I don't even know how to explain it. But and another thing too is like Tyler the Creator, like he explains this very much of how much that influences his music too. Him also being from LA, like it's the same thing. He hears those chords and he hears that bounce and that groove and that jazz funk, and like I said, the Roy Ayers, the Patrice Rushen, like that sound, and you're instantly taken to like a place of like home and just a feeling. So that's my very long-winded but impassioned answer on that. But it is such a thing. So it influences everything I do musically, like in a very, very, very big way. So
Yeah, man. Well, I mean, thank you for sharing that. I don't think I'd heard that, description before. And I specifically like the whole thing of like that song sounds, how LA looks. I've like never really thought about it, living in Los Angeles. Like, I guess I've never thought about it like consciously, because like yesterday I was driving and I was listening to The Doors, obviously another huge LA group, and it's just like that is how I would like. There's a specific reason I chose that. I was like, damn, I haven't driven, to the beach in LA in like probably like a year because of COVID. I'm putting on The Doors, and it was just like, it's just like it's something that resonates on like so many different levels for sure.
Yeah, I mean, last night, for context, Harry and I were hanging out last night. I had a show. That's why I was laughing about the LA thing. For context, though, we were walking through Venice too, and like we saw. Remember, I was like, "That's Tina Marie on the mural." Like, she's one of, she's an '80s, '90s, or she's an '80s R&B icon, Venice local. She was like one of Rick James's artists. So and her music is. I get that same feeling from it as well too. And then and back to like the rock thing too, like, being in Venice last night with The Doors, there's the Jim Morrison mural. And then also I mean, even like the Chili Peppers and Sublime, you could, when you're in Long Beach, like like, if you've ever been to Long Beach, like you can hear Sublime in the music. Like you're like, oh, I get why they made the music they make now. It's such a distinct feeling. And even Rage, like, they represent that really, their music represents that really angsty, just kind of dark energy, I guess, but like revolutionary energy that exists in LA too, So yeah, it's and all those groups are super influential on me as well too. So yeah.
Cool. And I mean, what's interesting is how, we're talking about all these groups who are from LA and stuff, none of which we've brought up so far very like specifically dance music, yet I know that you're more than just a dance DJ, but you obviously, there's some specific, there's some kind of deference and energy that you put towards house music and dance music in general. So I guess it's just like, how did you end up there with such widespread influences?
Good question. I mean, my family's from the East Coast, and house is a very distinctly East Coast Midwest genre, so so because of that, that's always been a part of me too. Like disco has been, played in my house forever. My dad was a DJ in Baltimore too, so it's just it definitely comes from that, just having East Coast raised parents. So that the same way that West Coast vibe is in me, that East Coast vibe is in me too, because that's my roots. So yeah, it's so I think I had like a natural kind of inclination to it as well. Like I remember hearing I mean, obviously I heard Daft Punk as a kid, but I remember rehearing it again in high school. I remember hearing Around the World again in high school with this girl that I was like seeing. We were like driving around, and I was like 16 maybe. And Around the World came on, and this is like shortly after Human After All came out. So there was like this whole Daft Punk revival kind of, this is like, they had just announced, it'd been announced for Coachella. So it was like there was a lot of buzz around Daft Punk. I remember at that specific time growing up and being in high school. So Around the World came on, and I was like, man, like I forgot how good this song is. Like, all right, like I heard it in a totally different way. Like the song's amazing. And I think at that moment too, like that really sparked something, then because around the same time, like Mastercraft started coming out, and then Crooker started coming out, and Justice started coming out, and the Bloghouse movement started really happening. And then the Daft Punk Coachella stuff happened. And I think it was just kind of like, it all kind of just clicked for me at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
So by then I was like ready to go to EDC. I just graduated, like, fast forward a few years later, all this was happening. I was ready to go to EDC. Like I went to EDC 2008, my first rave. And then I remember walking in, and I got grabbed in another direction. Like literally right when I walked in, it was drum and bass. And so that was my first time hearing drum and bass ever that night. And then that was my first time also hearing dubstep that night. And I was still such a hip hop head. So hearing like drum and bass and hearing like the fact that there was an MC and then like hearing dubstep and like the rhythm, and I was like, wait a second, like this exists, like this is a thing, like these two worlds like exist together. Like my mind was completely blown, like my world was rocked and forever changed. So I think that's how I ended up there too. I mean, and then also, you know, I was super into Flying Lotus as well in high school, and like kind of the whole like the beat scene they called it, you know, because that was very hip hop adjacent, you know. So I think all those things just kind of morphed into each other, and just kind of that's kind of how I ended up where I ended up, you know.
Mm-hmm. I'm curious, you know, who was playing dubstep at EDC
DJ Hype.
2008?
DJ Hype.
DJ Hype.
Yep. I remember distinctly, like forgot who was emceeing, so I think it might have been MC Dino. Just remember hearing like hype, 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 hype. So yeah, sick.
I mean, I was supposed to go see Scream at Hard, but you know, I freaking ended up with COVID.
Oh man, I didn't know you got COVID. Sorry.
Yeah, that's all good. You know,
yeah, that's a bummer. But the first song too, I remember it was "Where's My Money," Casper mix.
Classic.
Yeah.
And you know, so you mentioned, you know, we're talking about all these LA influences, you know, rock, jazz, soul, funk, and then we talk about all the different electronic influences, drum and bass, house, Daft Punk, DJ Hype, dubstep. And so would you say just like being inspired by so many things is why you were drawn to DJing, because DJing lets you express that, you know, with that completely evenly? There's no limits in that regard.
That is exactly why I was driving to DJ, and that is exactly that exact reason why. And I'm glad you asked that question, because I've never been able to articulate or explain that. But that is 100% specifically exactly the reason why I became a DJ, because I could express that. I could bend music genres to my will, and also present them in ways where I can show that they're like linked together, and that like they can. Yeah, it was total self-expression of like exactly who I was. I was like, I love all these different types of music and genres of music, you know, like I'm such a music head in general. Like, but I want to express that. I want to show that, you know, I want to show that, like, I don't know, that this is like who I am, literally. So yeah, that is exactly why. And that is why I cape so hard for DJs and pure DJs, because I'm like that, like there's a reason why like that exists, you know. And the fact that it just always gets so swept under the rug, it just like, or just like pushed to the side, or just like not given the credit and the due that it's deserved. It's really a shitty, to me it's one of the shittier things about this industry, that like DJs, like pure DJs, just don't get like the shine that they deserve, because it's such a totally different skill set and understanding, you know, like having that deep knowledge of music and appreciation of music, you know, and the ability to like curate music and show that you have like, you know, that you have like great taste in music, and that you have an ear for things that are, you know, and just an ear for it. I don't even know, you know, how to say it, but you just have like that special ear for it. It's definitely a talent, you know, and I think I think it's unfortunate that it gets so pushed under, or just so like just underappreciated as such, and that you have to, and that to play the game you have to like become a producer, you know, when your brain might not necessarily work that way. Like I know mine doesn't, you know.
Yeah,
like it's hard for me to produce. You know, it really is. Like I really don't enjoy it, and that's why I usually have a lot of help in the studio. So most of the stuff I release are probably going to be collaborations, because like it's just like my brain just doesn't work that way, but it does work for understanding music in the sense of like appreciating it, and being a curator of it, and, you know, being a DJ like that. That's a totally different part of the brain. So yeah.
I mean, what I love about DJing, you know, I mean, like I played instruments and, you know, in band in high school and college and stuff like that too. You know, I've produced like a little bit, I know how to make beats and all that, but like, and through all those different activities, you know, or whatever, however you describe them, the one activity that's like most like directly correlated just to your taste is DJing. You know, like
Yep.
if you're when you're DJing, it's here's my taste and like that's it. You know, it's like and it doesn't need to be any more than that, you know, because like such a huge realization for me when I was, you know, just learning to appreciate different genres, it's like, dude, this is all the same stuff. Like it
Yeah.
just sounds like arranged in a certain way and that's it. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, like
literally though, and that's the other thing with DJing too, and just genres of music. I mean, and just music period. I mean, it all comes from the same bed, you know. Like at least with American music, right? I mean, modern popular American music, like it starts with the blues, you know, and then or it starts with jazz and then the blues, and then it you know, then that bed is the bed of, you know, then you have funk and disco and R&B on top and soul on top of that, and you have, you know, from that you have from funk you have techno and hip hop and house and, you know, and disco. So it's all from the same place, and if you can like show that it all comes from the same place, like you can kind of play whatever you want in a DJ set, you know.
mm-hmm.
Like it unlocks that creative freedom because you're like, this is all the same shit. It's just presented in a different way. It's sonically presented in a different way, but this is all the same thing. And like I said, it really unlocks like a different creative freedom. And I think one of the things with producers is they get so boxed into creating a sound or a genre that I think that it kind of, I'm not gonna say it hinders them, because obviously people can create whatever they want to, you know, like, you know, they can make whatever kind of music they want to. But I think at least within dance music, people get so caught up in like, I make minimal, I make breaks, I make acid. It's like, no, like you make music, you make dance music, you know, that just happens to use a different sound, but it's all the same shit, you know, like,
Yeah.
and so that's why when people ask me like, what genre do you play? I'm like, I don't even know. Like, I just play dance music. Like, to me, it all is this. It's all the same. Like, to me, it really is all the same. I mean, EDM is different. Like, that's a different thing. But like, but I'm talking like the roots, you know, like from Jersey club to deep house to disco to funk to techno to breaks to electro, like to acid, like it all to like synth pop and Italo, like it all comes from the same place. So like that shit is, you know what I mean? Like, and even EDM, like there's some EDM songs I'll fucking, you know, like throw down too. Like I'll play Adam Nari Milani. But yeah, my point is just like it all comes from it all comes from the same home. So it's like, yeah, and also too, like it's such a pure form of like expression. Like I think it's like the purest form of self-expression, DJing, because it's, you are presenting your taste in music to people, and what is more pure of an expression than like your taste in music? That is who you are. Your taste in music literally is like, that's everything, you know. That's your personality. That's more or less your identity, you know, like the music you listen to, especially if you're like a music head or you really are like a lover or very fond of music. Like it really is who you are, you know what I mean? People have broken up with people over music taste, you know, that's a thing. So so you know, to me it's like it is the purest form of self-expression. And yeah,
Cool.
I'm pro DJ.
Nice. You know, with this, you know, feeling in mind that you have behind it, and thank you for, you know, sharing it in such a candid way. Is there like, you know, one moment that you can link back to when you're like in the middle, like one set, not even just one set, like one moment where you're like behind the decks and it like, you know, because the taste can remain internal technically, right? Like,
Yeah.
you know, that it doesn't have to come out in any way. It can just be yours, you know. But when you DJ, it's, you know, coming out. So I guess it's just the question is like, is there one moment when you were like sharing your taste in music that way that just was like, this is, you know, this is what I want to do. This is the way I want to share my taste, you know,
Yeah.
probably forever. You know, you're never going to stop DJing.
Fact. Man, you know, actually I do. This is a very specific moment. It was when I opened up for Cutsnake at Sound in like, I think it was April 2019. I mean, I don't know, on the surface you would think like, I mean, I don't know if people realize how good of a DJ Cutsnake Seds is. Like he's one of my favorite DJs in the scene. Like he's that guy's next level with it. And so I feel like, yeah, I knew like he has a lot of freedom in what he plays too, you know, like I think people just know him as like a tech house DJ because of like the Fisher Association, which is unfortunate, but um he plays everything. Like he plays disco, he plays deep house, he plays techno, he plays funk, so funky stuff, acid. So like I think I think me knowing that, I went into that set kind of like knowing I had a lot of freedom, you know. So yeah, I mean, I just remember in that set playing a lot of like synth pop stuff, playing some disco. Like I played some Donna Summer. I was also playing some like some straight like old school like 2000s tech house, like old slam stuff, and like old Tyree Cooper Chicago house stuff and Detroit Swindle. I was like all over the place, but I was like, this is sick. And it all had this kind of cohesive sound to it. It was very like kind of pointy and like acidy and like, you know, just a little psychedelic and weird. And I just remember thinking like, yeah, this is it. Like this is I'm bending these genres to my will, you know. Like I'm making them sound exactly how I want them to sound. I feel like I had a laser shooting out of my fingers the whole night.
Damn, that's cool.
Yeah, so that was a specific one actually. Yeah, it was cool. I remember thinking like, damn, I really wish I recorded that set. That might have been one of the best sets I've ever played. So yeah.
Nice. Was that the first time you had met Cut Snake? Because I know you've played before. You played together. You know,
That
did you guys?
wasn't that wasn't the first time we met, but that was definitely actually that might have been. That might have been. No, it wasn't. It wasn't. But it definitely was not the first time we met. We were actually pretty good friends up to that point. But yeah, it was the first time we'd ever like played together.
Yeah, because you just played with him at that Santa Barbara not too long ago, right? That was like earlier in the summer.
Yeah, that was the summer kickoff for me.
Yeah.
Um yeah, we it was July 4th weekend. Yeah, that show happened because of that sound show.
Nice.
Um
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask.
me doing the Cut Snake and mix happened because of that sound show, and a lot of things happened because of that set sound, especially related to him. And now we're like now we're great friends, and that's the super homie, and he always looks out for me, and will give me opportunities for stuff. And yeah, I mean, that guy gets it. That guy definitely gets it. So yeah, shout out to Cut Snake.
Cool, man. You know, so I mean, you talk about, you know, you, you playing at Sound in 2019. You know, you'd obviously been DJing for years before that, you know, and so like to be able to DJ at Sound, like have a residency like you did, not just like as
Mm-hmm.
part of like the night-based crew who plays every week or every month, or you know, to actually
Mm-hmm.
like build to that point of like I have a residency here that I'm, you know, I'm gonna play however frequently open for various different people, you know. So that's first of all, that's, you know, just like a very cool and impressive thing that plenty of DJs would really want to be doing. So I'm just
Yeah.
curious, like, you know, how was it for you to just like navigate through the LA scene as like a pure DJ to like be able to get to like that impressive point?
Yeah, it was a journey for sure. I mean, I think for me it was just like just play good music, you know? Like the
Mm-hmm.
talent and the music will speak for itself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I just always knew that, like I said, I kind of felt like I knew I had this like creative freedom of figuring out how the music works in the first place, you know. Um and so yeah, I think for me, I'll say this, I'll go back to this to tie this, I'll try to tie this together. But so how we were talking about just like, you know, knowing where the music comes from. I think something for me that was very important, I think this is why history is so important, and just in anything you do in life, period. um I had, you know, just I'm one of those people that will like nerd out and study every single like thing once I get into it. It could be anything from basketball to like music. So you know, when I got into DJing and dance music and house music and like really got into it, I just did my research. I did my history on it. I studied. I did my homework. I watched videos, documentaries, read Wikipedia pages, like I read books. Like I did so many different things, you know, and like I really learned the history of it. I learned where it came from. I learned the roots of it. And that to me is what unlocked that creative freedom of like, okay, all of this shit is the same shit, you know? And I think for me, when I started getting into the LA scene and kind of navigating my way through, I kind of always knew that I had that knowledge in the back of my head. And that really is what like just kept me pushing forward always. So I was like, I know once I play, I'm gonna like, I'm gonna shut it down because like I'm gonna kill it because I have this part of this. I feel like I really unlocked this like creative freedom in my brain, you know. Um, and so I just kind of always just stuck to my guns of like, you know, I'm just gonna play really good sets, play really good music. I know what I'm capable of doing now, and I know what I'm capable of showing people, and I know what I'm capable of bringing to the table. So it was just, you know, and also being a nice person is very important. And I think people get caught up in fucking in clout chasing out here, especially like the people that move here. Like, I mean, yeah, that's really a thing. um, I call it clout psychosis. People really like get caught up in the clout and they act weird to people, you know, and that shit is not okay. Like you think that you have to, it might help you in the beginning, you know, trying to getting over on people and, you know, being shady, but it always comes back to you. It's karma, you know, it's karmic justice. It will come back to you. So just being nice, you know, and you may seem like you're getting stepped on or being mistreated first because you are the nice person, but that always ends up coming back around to you too. So just like being a nice person, being friendly, maintaining relationships, being genuine, not asking for anything, you know, but like just being like, I'm here, and if you have something for me, I will accept that, you know, like I'll take that opportunity and I'll build on that. Like, you know, take a what is the saying? Take an opportunity even when there's not a paycheck attached to it. That's kind of how I've operated as well, because it's just, yeah, you never know. So, and so speaking of that, you know, like I said, being nice people, maintaining relationships, you know, also when I'm being called on, um, showing up and performing, you know, it's a really big one, you know what I mean? Like, so I remember all of that kind of came together when I got the call to play the first house heads from Bones. And that was the start of it right there, you know. And I'd played it sound a little bit here and there before, but like that was like the big one, you know. And like I said, just showing up and performing when I'm being, you know, when I'm being called on, but also that kind of came about because, you know, I'm a trusted person, you know, I'm nice to people and I treat people with respect. And it's kind of, it's all those things, you know, it really is all those things. But I think, yeah, for anyone who needs advice, or it's be nice to people, you know, treat people with respect, do your homework, do your research, learn about these genres and these things in their history. So I'm so adamant about that. And perform when you're called upon, you know, like really, like just when it's time to show up, just do your job and do it well, and make it undeniable for people. Nice. And make people feel like too, like the people that asked, you know, that booked you or gave you the opportunity, make them feel like they made a good decision too, you know. That is super important. Like people want to feel good about themselves as well. So it's like, yeah, that was me, I did that. It's like, you know, people want that too. So give people that opportunity as well. Yeah.
You know, one thing you hinged upon, you know, being nice to people, which is, you know, more than just the industry. You should be nice to people all the time. You know, but clearly, you know, what's it called? You're able to develop, you know, and maintain these relationships. And one of, you know, as a result of that, you helped create a community with Understated, you know. And so, you know, like you talked about, you know, the whole journey and all that stuff. So I'm just curious, like, when did Understated like come about throughout this journey? And then after starting it, how has it like felt for you just to know that, like, even beyond the larger community of house music in LA, which is already super supportive, you like have like some like even like a more like family oriented, you know, community with Understated?
Yeah. Let's see. Understated came about. It's a long story, but basically Micah and I think most people know this by now. If you know me and Micah, we were in a duo called Sunset Groove. Rest in peace, Sunset Groove. But that kind of dissolved. Just, you know, it just wasn't working out the way we wanted it to. So we just wanted to go in a different direction. And at that time we started getting really into like tech house, but like not just like, you know, tech house. It was like progressive tech, like kind of harder, really darker stuff, like kind of like the Anakim, stuff and stuff. Which was, yeah, I mean, I don't know. That was an interesting time for me, but but not and yeah, but anyways, yeah. So we started getting into that sound, and I don't know. It just kind of, we were just like, let's do something different. Let's do something darker. You know what it was? We started going to warehouse parties more, and we kind of started hearing that sound at warehouse parties, and I think that's what hooked us kind of in, to that sound and that world. And so yeah, dude, we just kind of like, let's kind of, and going to Desert Hearts, and that sound was really big there too. Hearing the Marb sets and Deep Jesus sets and stuff like that, and just we were just like, let's like, I don't know, let's just do something darker and different. And that's kind of how Understated, that's kind of how the groundwork got laid for it. So warehouse parties kind of want to do something with the darker aesthetic, a little harder aesthetic, and then something, and then we did a warehouse party at EJAG's. Well, he asked us to help with a party that he was doing. Some like acid house party he was doing. I forgot the name of it, but really tired. So we helped him with that part, and we actually did really well and we got to play. So we actually did really well, like promoting it and like bringing people, and it was fun. And we were like, wow, we could actually do this. So, and then Micah had the connection with EJAGs, and that turned into him asking us if we want to do our own event. And we said, sure. And we had the budget for it, and at the time, and we were like, well, we know a bunch of DJs that are like our really good friends that we've known for a long time, like Pilo and Jake Lubelski, Rybo, Kevin Anderson, who all pretty much played the first one, Mahalo as well. And we felt like they represented that sound that we were really into at the time. That kind of was the aesthetic of Understated, and at first. So and then Zach came up with the name Understated. And then, so between Micah, Zach, and I, that's literally how it formed. It was just it was so organic. So it's even kind of hard to tell the story. We just kind of like followed our instinct, our intuition, and kind of just led us to where it was. And then from that first party, it was a hit. We had some expectations of how I was going to do, but we didn't expect it to be what it was. It was a hit. It was a massive success. So really, we got something. Let's just keep going with this. And then we did it again, and that one was like a very Dirty Bird heavy lineup, I remember. And that one was crazy. I mean, we sold like 200 more tickets than we did the first one. The first one, I think we sold like 400 tickets. That next one, we sold like 600 tickets. And just like, all right, like I think we've arrived. I think we got it. And then we did the third one, and that one was my personal favorite. The one with Amtrak and Masha and Durante. That was sick. And Justin Campbell. That one was crazy. Or no, those are two different ones. But anyways, so I just knew that we had something, and then by the third one, we started to have a little bit of like a following and like a little bit of a crowd and an audience. I mean, like not a crowd, but a little bit of like a circle, like kind of, because like we, as from the beginning, we had Andrew and Mingland and Hannah as well, being our resident and stuff, so we kind of just started kind of building the circle around like Andrew's people from like artists that he was working with at Create, and just like people like Anakim kind of started coming around, and Thomas Garcia. So I think by the time we did our third or fourth party, we were like, I think we should start a label. Like we clearly have like the circle around us now. So like let's release some of our friends' music, because we have the circle and we have the platform to do it now, and the audience to reach people now as well, the platform. So, and we just keep building off of it. We just keep building, and eventually it's turned into what it's turned into. It's a very long-winded answer. Sorry, it's such a hard way to explain the story of Understated, because there's so many twists and turns from so many different stories from different people and things like that. But yeah, I think it's just taking opportunities and just building on them, and just kind of just literally going with the flow, and doing it organically. So yeah. I just got really tired.
It's all good. I mean, that I definitely hadn't heard some parts of that story before. I didn't know Zach was the one who came up with the name and stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like I like that you brought up the idea of going with the flow because you know, just like being around LA, like that's something you could definitely like feel from like the output. You know, like just think about COVID. Like I think
Mhm.
you were one of the first like crews where we're just like we're gonna start streaming. Not and it's not Monsieur Frazier's gonna start streaming. It's like no, I'm going to DJ, but it's understated stream.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like those are some of my favorite streams. Like every Monday night, dude, that was some great times. You
Yeah,
know,
man.
very supportive during
Thank you.
COVID because it really just did like whatever has that U like U dash S whatever has that on it has that like that family energy. You know, it's reached that point. You know, and now you have the second label Understated at night. You're throwing the shows at like Catch One and stuff like that. You know, so it's just like you know this it's cool to hear from the founder this like go with the flow thing when that's like I feel like everybody who has stuck around is you know has felt that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I think when it's something that's like super family oriented, it has to be organic, you know? Like you can't force that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
like, like that's like, imagine being like, you're in my family, you're my family, you're my friend. It's like, no, like, it's just like, it's all feeling and intuition. It's like, you know, it's energy. It's really, it's just, it's pure energy. So you have to go with the flow,
Mm-hmm.
otherwise it's just, yeah, otherwise you're just forcing it. It's not going to work. So, and that's what keeps it going is the fact that like the people that are around us, like we want them to be around us and they want to be around us. Like we feed off of each other, like as if it was a bunch of people we didn't like, then shit just wouldn't work. So it's like everyone fucks with each other in like a real genuine way, even like outside of music, very much outside of music. Like, so, um, like, we've all, the whole circle, like everyone's become friends. Everyone is friendly. Everyone hangs out. Everyone collabs with, outside of Understated now and does stuff together. So and that's what we wanted. And that's literally what we wanted. We wanted that community, and we want people to be, yeah, to just to know that they feel like that they can have like a home base in LA, you know what I mean? And just also like for us, it's also just kind of like spreading seeds, of just like little and pockets of just influence here and there too, like so yeah, that's
Cool.
that.
Cool, man. Yeah, I mean, and just to like keep it going on the topic of going with the flow, you know, you have now put out your debut self-titled EP on Understated Recordings, you know, so
Thank
congratulations on that first of all, but you know,
thank
like
you.
when you think about that in terms of the go with the flow, you know, it's just like you obviously could have put something out on Understated Recordings like you know you would have first dibs you know but
Yeah,
you waited however many years what's like 3-4 years now.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
for
so I mean I guess it's
years.
like what made this the right time to release an EP on the label.
um but before COVID, I was already inching towards that. Like Micah
Mm-hmm.
and I had dropped our song Lazy River, which was the first song we actually as put out as artists on Understated. That was at the beginning of 2020, and that was when we had just had our 5 year or whatever the party was, or 4 year. I can't remember. 4 year. I always get them confused. Yeah, our 4 year. And I can't remember which year it was, but whatever. It was one of their anniversary parties, and we dropped the compilation, our second compilation at the same time, the All of Us compilation. So it was, and I remember we used to have our weekly meetings in Andrew's room, and we had a whole schedule of all of our releases for like planned out for the whole year. Like we had every release pretty much planned out for the whole year from 2020. And this is, like I said, this is literally in January. And my name was on there, and Micah's name was on there as well. And so we had been gearing up towards it, and then when COVID hit, it just kind of, that schedule went out the window. Like everything just, we all know what happened.
Yeah.
2020 happened, like we all know what happened. So, um, man, it's so crazy how it's already September. That just like like 2020 was so long, it still feels like it was yesterday.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It blows my mind. Um, I was like, during lockdown, I need to do something. So that's when I just started working on music again, started producing again. So I had the time and the energy, and I had like a fearlessness. I was like, it's now or never, I might as well go all the way in on this, I might as well do this. And I was like, it's going to be way, way, way harder for me to come back as a pure DJ too, as well. So I was like, I actually probably do have to do this, whenever we come back. So it was it was out of necessity as well. And yeah, I don't know, the stars just kind of organically aligned too, but it just I feel like it just kind of had to be done at this point, like I certainly plug my laptop in. We kind of just had to do it this way, because it was like, thought the world was gonna end in 2020. So it's like, now or never. And it also took a little bit of time too this year though, because we were still in lockdown for most of the year as well. So it was, and like I said, most of my work is collaborative. So it was really hard for me to meet up with people and, get everyone, on the same schedule as everyone. And it was, so it was a long process. It took a while. And I'm sorry to everyone whose other music I pushed back so I can release my music, but it also had to be done.
Yeah.
It just did. So yeah.
Cool. I mean, I like what you said about now or never, because I think that's an impression I'm getting from a lot of people about, after what happened, because it's like, there's no magical law of the universe that says there's not going to be another pandemic in 3 years, in 5 years, in 10 years. We don't know,
I mean, we're still technically in this one, so
yeah, and I know this one isn't even over yet.
It's not at all.
And so it's like, it was for a lot of people, it really was that like wake up call of just like, I'm not going to put anything off anymore, whether that is creating something tangible like, an EP, or if it's just like, internal work, becoming the person that you want to be, and like, it's something that's really like reflecting in a lot of ways in like, in people I admire, and that's cool.
Yeah, no, definitely, I completely agree. And I mean, it was a wake-up call, it's like get your shit done, do what you have to do to, feel like, do whatever you feel like you need, you need to do for yourself. But also too, I mean, from streaming, I felt like I had a lot of momentum. I was being booked for a lot of shows. Everything just lined up so perfectly. Like I couldn't even explain or write this. Like there was just so much alignment happening from streaming to just coming out the gate, just getting booked for so many shows. Like I didn't plan for any of this to be this way. Like it literally just kind of happened. But I think it was just, it's just my time. It's alignment, And like I said, I've always known my talent and my abilities, but sometimes it's just slower for people, and like I said, if you just stay as a good person and you stay good and stay pure and nice, and also show that you're talented, eventually it will come around to you. And I'm not saying I'm anywhere where I need to be yet, but I definitely, I definitely feel the energy still moving in a very, in a very, very quick upward trajectory right now, and it feels great. It feels like I am starting to accomplish a lot of things that I wanted to do, and playing shows I wanted to play, and it's just, it's all alignment, it's all just kind of the universe just working itself out, so
yeah, man. Well,
I'm just happy.
Yeah, dude, I'm glad you're feeling that way, and glad you're experiencing it. I mean, one of the last things I wanted to ask about, especially since you brought it up, is, like, you've had a lot of really great gigs recently. You did Splash House, you played Day Trip, so I'm just like wondering, like, how has it been to like play those gigs for you?
Really fun. Really, really fun. Like, it was Splash House was that weekend is always just like the best weekend. It is so fun. Everyone is just on like level 10, like the outfits to like just the energy that everyone's bringing, like everyone is just on it. on 10 the whole weekend, and it's so fun because it's always like everyone's just so absurd and just like on like a different level, you know, just constantly, and it's just positive. It's just like such positive energy all weekend, you know. Everyone's just like happy. It's like the weather was great this year. The weather was so nice, and it's just like it's just like hard to even be mad in that kind of environment, you know. It's like um so yeah, it was so fun. There was just so much energy. I had a pretty decent I had a pretty good turnout for my set too. Like, you know, I was the second on a Sunday playing at like 1 to 2 p.m. You know, at Margaritaville, like that. I didn't have expectations, but like I had a really good turnout, and I was super happy with my set, and I just winged it, which is something I never have done before for a set, especially. But Splash House, you were saying to me last night, Splash House is the place to do that. I don't, yeah, was that you? I don't know who said that, but it really is the place to do that, like, because it's just such an absurd but like fun, free, loose energy of a place, you know, of an event, and I'm super honored. It's an honor to play Splash House. I mean, it really is such a big festival, you know, like it's you know, it's the stuff you work for, you know. And then Day Trip, I mean, it's Insomniac, like doesn't get more LA and like legendary than Insomniac, right? Excuse me, I'm still really congested from being sick. And then getting to play, I was actually handpicked by Walker and Royce to play that.
Oh, nice.
To play that show, yeah. So that was dope. I mean, getting to open for Worthy and Walker and Royce. And Worthy, I think she's such a legend. That was like the early Dirty Bird stuff that I was like very into, was like a lot of her music. So that was sick. And then obviously Walker and Royce are just like, they're just like the goats. Like they really are just the goats. They're so sick. Like, yeah, they're both geniuses. Like, so just the fact that I was handpicked by them, I mean, kind of says it all, you know. I think that kind of says it all. It really feels that it was very what's what I'm looking for, validating. You know, very, very validating. So that's how that felt, validating.
Cool. Well, yeah, I mean, I didn't know that they handpicked you, so that's super awesome.
Yeah. I didn't know until they told me. So I was like, word? That's no pun.
Shout out Vanessa.
Yes, please absolutely shout out Vanessa.
Well, you know, cool, man. Those are all the end of my questions. Is there anything you want to give a last few shout outs or anything like that?
Yeah, shout out to Understated, shout out to the squad. I mean, shout out to Nick Garcia, shout out to Micah, shout out to Luke Belsky, shout out to Pilo, shout out to Jamie Sloan, shout out to Zach, shout out to Andrew, shout out to Hannah, Ming Lin, shout out to just shout out to you.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, just stay safe. The world's crazy right now. Like the world is absolutely fucking insane right now. Just stay safe, and you know, also Texas sucks. That's it. That's what I have to say on that.
That is a great note to end on. And, you know, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me, my friend. You know, the EP is great.
Thank you.
Monsieur Frazier EP out now on Understated Recordings.
Thank you, bro.
Stream it where you stream. Rip it where you rip it.
Rip it from I'm gonna stop saying that. But just go support. Whatever you got to do to support, go support it. I'm very grateful, and thank you so much. Thank you to everyone for listening. I should say that. Thank you so much to everyone for listening and supporting and sharing, and just congratulating me. It means so much. It's also very validating and very I feel very, very fulfilled and just very full right now. So thank you to everyone. I really, 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 really appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. Like I really do. And just be on the lookout for more stuff from me. After this summer, I'm getting a studio tan. Like I will be so deep in the studio, like it's not even a joke. That's all I'm gonna be doing. Don't ask me to play shows. No, I'm just kidding. But no, seriously though, I'm gonna, it's studio time. So just be on the lookout for more music. Honestly, I'm working on some stuff still that I need to finish, but that's what that's gonna be. So